Welcome to another exploration into consciousness with Yotna Wahab. Thanks for being here, ladies. And today we're just going to have an overall chat and see where this is going to lead us. We've just come through, or we're still in those new moon energies, and it's bringing up interesting moods and situations and experiences. And I mean, we talk about this every time there's something going on interstellarly, but it seems to really ramp up, doesn't it? And I just want to kick it off with something because I've had a realization that we talked about this before, actually. It's like we always talk about clearing our conditioning and letting go of the old programming and karmic resolution. And lots of the stuff that we are perceiving or feeling nowadays, and this is already the first thing to actually say here, is when you feel a certain way, don't call it feeling, just say, what am I perceiving? What is actually really going on? What is going on? Because there's a lot of integration happening at the moment. And I'm just going to give you a personal example with that I had, which made me again focus on the integration rather than the release of the old conditioning. I've had on Saturday, which was the 1st September, I think, which was just before the new moon. And I went to the car boot. It was all fine. I was on my own, and had a lovely morning. There was one thing which was interesting. I said, and car boots, I mean, this is like huge markets and people walking around. I just said they had a coffee there and a little, naughty bacon and egg barb. But anyway, it was very nice. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not even there, there's this hustle and bustle, and that sense of I'm not even here. Not that I'm ungrounded or anything, but really that perception of total freedom of what's going on. I don't need to talk to anyone. It's all happening and I'm just the observer. So that was the beginning of a sort of detachment in a way, not in a bad way, but I just observed that. And then I went home, and a couple hours later, I started to feel really, I don't want to call it frustrated, but I felt confused. And I thought, why am I so confused? Confused was the word that came to me. Why am I so confused? And it was like stuff like, I don't want anyone in my field. I don't want, that kind of thing. So it was really weird. And I thought, Jesus, what is this? This is really weird. And I'm like, oh, what old shit's coming up again? And la la la. And I thought, no, let me just phone a friend. Because sometimes when you go into a funk like that, it's really cool to phone somebody who understands what you're talking about and ask him to ask me a question, because you just need somebody on the same frequency. It's not that they have to give you advice or anything. It's just to be there, and just by being with somebody in the same frequency, you figure out your own answers or more questions as such. So I found Dave, my friend in the States. He's an amazing listener, and we often have, conversations over the weekend. So I phoned him up and said, Dave, how are you doing? And he was doing all sorts of stuff going on. And then I said, I'm just confused, I just started talking. And as I'm talking to him, I'm seeing this bubble with myself in that bubble, just I'm observing the bubble. And I said, I feel a bit, then I felt a bit ungrounded. I said, yes, I know I'm connecting with you right now, but there is this myself in that bubble that I'm seeing, in that like in a soap bubble, and she's just floating. And I'm looking at this, and I think, what is this? And I just keep talking and everything. And then for some reason, because we always talk about certain things, and we start talking about soul shard integration, because a lot of that is happening right now. So when you do feel a bit out of sorts, or, you know, discomfort or something, you know, it's with all the solar flares, which I didn't know. There was a huge what do you call it, solar flare opening on that day, 1st, 2nd September, huge solar flares. And what happens quite often is that this is an opportune moment for soul shards to come in, right? Now, so she was like floating in this, and as I'm looking at her and talking to Dave, and I said, Dave, do you know what I'm just realizing? My discomfort that I'm perceiving here, that I thought was mine, because again, I needed some, was not mine. It was the discomfort of that soul shard in that bubble. She was completely disconnected because she was coming in not ready to integrate. So she was confused because she hasn't been here for a long time. And since then, actually, that was on Sunday, and today's what, Wednesday, she's still sleeping. When I check in with her, she's still sleeping. She's in fetal position, very, very, I would say, I want to say high vibration, very innocent, very big eyes, you know, and she's just sleeping. And it was the confusion that I picked up from her. I felt her confusion and her detachment as she was coming in. And as soon as I acknowledged that, you know, I just became so much lighter, because my energy completely changed, because I realized it wasn't, of course, she's my soul shard and everything, you know, but then again, you know, when you have soul shard integrations, it doesn't just, it takes time for those energies, those aspects, those fragments of the soul to integrate. And it was really beautiful at the end. And as soon as I said to Dev, oh, I get it, this is what's happening, her bubble burst. And she could holographically, you know, as we know, project into my field. And this is where she now resides. And, you know, I will see, you know, I'm starting to communicate and check with her and see what's going on. And of course, there is still, I'm working with the detachment technique. You know, of course, I could say, well, it's just an energy and it's me now, just like the walking, which is true, of course. But it's quite fun to have a communication with those different soul shards, so that you can, you know, sort of become more aware of what's the whole purpose, you know, what is being activated as she's coming in, because she's been activating some of my soul codes by coming in, by projecting her energy into me. So what does that mean? Am I going to have different capacities, capabilities? But then again, it's not just about me. And that was the other realization. Not realization, confirmation, really, because we know it. She wanted to come in. And how many times do we do meditations and facilitations to bring those species, to bring those shards in, you know, how can we help? How can we help them integrate? And that was one of those things. She literally is coming in for her to have an experience within my energetic field on this planet. So it's my responsibility, because obviously she's a signature frequency match, a resonating vibration. And I've called her in. And now it's like, why am I feeling so confused? What the fuck's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, great. But, you know, it's just amazing how we go into the wrongness of ourselves. Oh my God, what have I eaten? Why am I so bloated? Because for me, my body is always, it's the bloating, you know, it's like, because it all comes in. And then after that, interestingly enough, that subsided too and got easier. So physical pain, emotional sort of confusion or anything like that, think along the lines at times of integration. Who or what wants to integrate with you? First of all, are you happy to have them integrate? You know, and you've got to use your discernment, because there's a lot out there who wants to obviously connect to us that not necessarily is a contribution to us, right? So that was just my story, which I wanted to throw in. But what you make of it, and how are your experiences along those lines?
Can I share
Please
my
do.
story, how I was feeling? So after I kind of had the flu, right, and I was in physical discomfort and things like that. Um, what I kind of felt was that so when you're in that state, you're like not in your rightful state of mind and things like that. And so that following weekend, we went on a weekend trip, which we were obligated to do. And during the whole weekend, I was still like getting over that flu feeling. Um, but when we came back home, even a couple of days after we came back, I felt like I wasn't in my rightful timeline. Like I was still out of feeling grounded and feeling in my right state of mind. And I was like asking myself, like, what is this? Why am I feeling like this? Why am I not feeling like I'm home, but yet still I'm home? Why am I not feeling grounded the way I would normally feel, like my normal self? And I keep asking, like, what's going on? What timeline did I shift into? Did I shift into a different timeline? Am I, you know, going through different timelines? And like, I felt like I'm out of it. And I said, I've got to do something to get myself grounded again, right? And back into feeling my normal self. So what I did one day was that I went outside and I decided, I'm going to do some yard work or some gardening or something like that. And so I decided to spend as much time as I could outside in the yard, doing things and grounding myself. And it was a blessing for me to do that, because after I did that, and by the end of the day, then I started to feel like I was coming back into my rightful state of mind again, and I was feeling like I'm home. Yes, I came back home. Now I'm home. I can do the normal things I would normally do, and I would have the normal feelings, and I was feeling grounded again and all that. So the story that you're sharing, Martina, I'm wondering now if it had anything to do with that solar flare as well, that was affecting me in the same manner. Um, and I was not feeling rightful in the space that I was in. Like something was off. I was constantly feeling something's not right, something's off.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was or what to do.
Yeah.
And I needed to ground myself back again. So
Mm.
that's interesting that you're sharing that story.
Ah. And of course, you can continue to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
As who or what was going to was willing to integrate through that experience.
Yeah.
Who or what needed to be grounded into my field, into my holographic projection.
Yeah. And I'm wondering too whether that flu that I got wasn't actually a normal flu as well. It was something that had to do with that same connection, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I normally don't get flu or get in that
Uh,
state,
so,
and the
absolutely.
physical pain that I was having as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I had, that happened to me on the Sunday, and the Monday I had a complete muscle ache, muscle pain, as if I was working out. And I thought, I hadn't really done anything from the Sunday to the Monday that justified that. So I had really muscle, and even in the morning I had some ear ringing for a couple of hours. And my tummy was, it was almost like tummy sort of ache as well.
That I had too. That I had too, Martina,
Yeah.
for several days.
Yeah.
Now I'm beginning to feel better.
Yeah, exactly. So this is part of the release, if you want to call it release. But in addition to that, think of integration, because it brings you to a different level of consciousness. Because this is what I discussed with my friend as well. Because as soon as we go into, okay, I've got a tummy bug, what's going on? What have I eaten? What I shouldn't have done this. So you immediately go into the lower vibration of your personality. You go into that personality. You sort of drag yourself down into a lower vibration, instead of saying, hey, let me stay up there, higher mind. This is where the belief system actually resides, and change my belief system from a high level of consciousness or awareness, instead of dropping down and lower my vibration. Because as soon as you do that, you get back in the box. And in the box, you can't see because the box is dark. So stay up there and remind yourself that, I think it was Bashar, I've been listening to Bashar a little bit. He was actually saying the beliefs are built in the higher mind. So you cannot change a belief in the lower realms. You got to stay up high. And that's why, and you see, the change in energy happens instant as soon as you acknowledge something. And this was so beautifully shown to me because, I have all these pictures immediately. As soon as I start talking, I see the pictures as image streams. When I saw her in the bubble, as soon as I made the connection, I said, oh, it was an integration. Pop. She popped. The bubble popped. So this is, you can always, because we all have pictures when we talk, when we sleep, and everything. Whatever image comes to you as you're speaking, you can play with that. First of all, ask the question, what is the image to that one? What does this actually look like, what I'm just saying? Or like what I'm feeling, what I'm perceiving, what does it look like? And then you get a symbolic sort of representation, a metaphor. And then you can look at that, just like a dream interpretation. Same thing. And I think nowadays, we're getting to a stage where we don't have to wait for our dreams in the morning to wake up, because we can do this dream interpretation on a moment-to-moment basis. Whatever metaphor comes up, okay, why am I in a bubble? What the hell is that? Right. And then I was like, because I said to Dave, I said, let me poke that bubble, as you want to just push. Let me poke it. And I said, oh, it's not working. I can't poke it. The realization had to come in, the learning, the acknowledgement of what was actually happening. And that again is actually quite a nice thing, because you think, oh, you're making this shit up and it's not true and everything. But I actually, by trying to pop it with my pen, no, it didn't work. But then as soon as I had the realization what was going on, it opened up.
Well, I think you make
Hi, Jen.
Hey, you go ahead, Tanya.
I just was going to say, I think you make a really good point. Instead of asking what is wrong, like asking instead, how can I perceive and integrate how I'm shifting, how I'm integrating, how I'm changing? What is right with this?
Right about
I'm
that.
feeling maybe my body's not feeling great, but what is happening that is not wrong per se, but is coming in to help me grow.
Yeah, and Lana used that beautiful question, because you want to use an open question. And she said, what is this? That's a simple question, because it's totally open-ended. And I would add the who or what is this? And then you don't even have to immediately wait for an answer, because the awareness will kick in. But just ask who or what is that? And it's always a better question than the why question, because the why question is still the bias, the judgment kind of thing. What have I done wrong? What's wrong about this? Or just simply, as Tanya says, what's right about that?
One of the things I found interesting though is that when you're in that state of mind, sometimes the questions don't come as easily as you would like them to when you're in the right state of mind, when you're back to your normal self again. And I found that because I was feeling such discomfort and things like that, like it was such an effort to ask the questions or to get back to the grounded self of me, you know. And I was just out of it, kind of, you know. And until like a little time had passed and things were, my physical body was feeling a lot better, that's when I was able to grasp it again and say, okay, I got to ground myself. I got to get out of this. I don't like the way I'm feeling. I don't know what timeline this is and where it's taking me. And so I need to just get myself back together and to come back into unity of myself. And my state of mind will just, you know, take from there and come back together. And it did. Whatever I did worked.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing, right? Whatever I did worked.
Well done. Now, permission slip, open permission slip for anyone on this group and anyone else really. If you're in a funk, send any one of us a message. And the message is not, please facilitate me. No, send me a question. Please ask me a question. And that's all. Not tell me what to do. Don't psychically tune into me, send me healing, none of that shit. Just ask me a question. And then, of course, you know, we will ask a question, which is obviously sort of psychically in tuned anyway, but that's a different story. Or we just say, what is this? Really, really important, because you see, and I think this is the other thing is what I looked at afterwards, the acknowledgement, the gratitude for the contribution of each other to each other, and the asking for help. Yes, we can figure it out ourselves. Of course we can. We're masters of figuring everything out. We're the masters of solution, right? But it's okay. It's okay to ask. And I think that's part of the vulnerability, that's part of the innocence and the surrender that we were talking about last time, you know?
That's a good idea. Send a message to some one of us and say, ask me a question.
Yeah, write on our into the Facebook group or on our messenger group or text, whoever. Yeah. Just ask me a question. That's it. Fabulous. Good. Jen, you still there? Are you driving still, Peps, or are you done?
I am driving. I'll be at my office in about 15 minutes.
All right.
But I missed part of the conversation because I got a call that I had to switch over to for a minute. But I went through the same physical symptoms. I didn't have the flu, but I had all the body aches and the stomach discomfort. I didn't think anything about the solar flares. I didn't really think much about it other than I just let my body rest for a while, which I don't often do. And then I kind of felt like I was in that funk, Lana. And well, I sat down and I cleared myself and I did a session on myself, which helped me. And then I just, if I feel stuck and I don't know what to do, I just go do something. So I cleaned out closets, cleaned out part of my garage, and getting things organized and like getting that energy of chaos out of my home gets that chaos out of my field as well. And so just that simple task really helped me. And I missed part of the timeline discussion other than, you know, I told you all last week that I've accepted another job and as my day job. And it occurred to me a couple days ago that the company that I'm going to was the other company that I was considering when I took the job with Thompson 4 years ago. And as soon as I had that revelation, I could see like the timeline that I veered off my timeline to do some soul contract work with people at my current firm. And now that I'm done with that work, I've switched back over to the timeline that I was on. So, and I could see timeline shifts in a couple of other people that I was working on also. So there is a lot of timeline movements happening right now too, that are really prominent. So I just wanted to share that mine showed up a little bit differently than yours, Lana, but I had that come up in the last week as well. All the same things.
Thank you. Great stuff. Yeah. Interesting.
I heard somebody said, I was listening to someone on YouTube and they were saying that how the timelines are like, we're going through like a million timelines in every moment that we are existing. So we're shifting so fast from one to the next, but sometimes I think now that we get shifted out of timelines in order to be on the right one, and sometimes we fall into maybe a gap of timelines where we're like not very pleased with that timeline, you know, and we experience things that are discombobulating to us, you know, and it's like taking us out of our groundedness, and those timelines are not conducive to our future, you know, or where we want to go. So I find that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is now, you know, like I think we said that last time, where we finding ourselves again in a terminal, right? How many of you had dreams in a terminal?
Well, I have.
I did.
So many times, right? Be it now a train terminal or a plane terminal, you know, with lots and lots of people and trains and planes going in different directions, different destinations, you know. And this is a good analogy to work with because, you know, timeline wise, you know, so many timelines depending on which plane, which train you're taking. And I think, you know, with the focus, with the intention, with the gravity, with all of the stuff that we were talking about, coming to a certain speeding up of the process now, it's like becoming more aware of which plane to take or which train to get on. And I was looking at this the other day, and then I thought, okay, well, let me look at this train that I'm going to get on. And I'm thinking, oh, who is actually on it? And there were very few people on it, at least very few that I knew. And that's quite a fun exercise to do, because it just, from a subconscious perspective, it just like, ooh, what the hell are you doing on this train? I didn't think you'll be there. And then there's one running after, oh my God, do I take the hand, you know, reach out my hand now to get him on the train or not, you know? So you can really play with that metaphor, because I think, again, it's Bashar who was saying it. We're getting to that stage now. There's timeline, depending obviously on the soul. And I think we said that last time, that those timelines are sort of crystallizing, and whichever plane, train, timeline you're on, this is where you're on. Now, I'm not necessarily fond of that, because I think, you know, choice is a moment-to-moment experience. But depending on what you want to create, I think the intention of which train or plane or timeline you want to be on is actually quite something to consider. You know, instead of jumping off and on and on and off, if you want to have like a sort of consistent, committed co-creation with people, you have to be available for that, and not continuously piss off by, you know, going onto other trains and planes and helping out there and being that kind of thing, you know, the old stuff, helping out, not allowing yourself to let go of certain people that don't want to be on your train because they don't want to go where you want to go. And that's going to be a tough one. Is it going to be a tough one or not? Resonance will take care of that anyway. But there will be surprises. Who's going to be on the train and who's not?
Well, this
One of
is
the
sort of
things
my.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, one of the things that I found that Bashar had said that I remember was that he's saying that all the timelines are running parallel right now with all the confusion and the good and the bad and the ugly and everything are running in the together. But we're cutting to the point pretty soon where it's going to start to separate. And then there'll be one going in one direction and another one going the other direction. And it will get to the point where the two timelines will split so far apart, like the train is traveling, right? Tracks. And then we wouldn't see the people that are the other timeline. We would be on the other one. So I find that interesting that he was saying that we're getting to closer to the point where that will eventually happen.
I mean, that's pretty much, you know, separation of density, which we've been going through for a long time. And of course, you know, the majority of the people on this call are celestial mediums, which allows us to be consciously on all these different timelines simultaneously, you know, as we are in the past, the present, and the future. But having said that, the choice point that he's talking about, I mean, I can appreciate that. Not necessarily from a conclusive perspective, oh my God, if I'm not on the train, then I'm fucked, and, you know, that's it. You know, I missed the station. I missed the time when the train was leaving. So this is not what he's talking about. But it's really just making choices for your unique signature frequency. And I think this is why it's getting more and more interesting to really appreciate the divine galactic blueprint that we've come in and actually start really activating our soul codes and decipher the soul codes so that we can, because the majority of us can do anything. I mean, look at all these multi-dimensional, you know, manifestors, generators here. We've had so many different careers. We can do so many things. Just because we can do it doesn't mean we have to do it. There are very, very, very specific reasons why we've come here for. And some, you know, I will never forget that one thing, you know, when Abby said to me that at some stage, my best lifetime was when I was a stargazer. I was a Neanderthal looking at the stars. And I'm like, what? That's so boring. That's all I did. That was my best. That was my best lifetime. Yeah. Neanderthal looking at the stars. I might have been a warrior at the same time, or maybe I was, I don't know, I had 5 children or whatever. But it was the stargazing that had the biggest impact. And I think this is the invitation to foster that kind of level of higher mind consciousness. It's not about how many paintings I do, if I sell them or not, but what I create while I'm painting them. Even if I don't ever show it to anyone or sell it to anyone, what am I bringing through? Because this is, you know, this higher level of perception. That's where it's going to get interesting. And of course, if we, you know, keep on focusing on our pains and aches and, you know, gossip and drama and this and that, we lose that level of consciousness. And it's got nothing to do. You can do exactly the same, talk about aliens, talk about extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, and still be in the wrong frequency. It's not about knowledge. It's not about that. It's not about academia. It's not about being with millions of people, speaking on TV or on stage. It's not about that. A friend was telling me today, I mean, he lives in the sticks, in the desert. The most magnificent experience ever. That has changed not just his life, but definitely the collective. And all he was with was his chickens and his dogs. And I'm like, how does he get better than that? But that's
It doesn't.
But that's that self-gratification that we need to be able to give ourselves. Gratify self, Yeah, I think self-gratification is the right word, because a lot of people, oh, there's something wrong, self-gratified. No, it's, you know, acknowledge who you are, acknowledge your experiences, even if nobody ever listens to them, because there's no such thing as nobody listening or seeing, perceiving. You're in the midst of it all. That's my UFO, by the way. A plain UFO. Oops. Gonna take that to Stephen Greer on Sunday.
I'm so funny. I'm picking up a few threads here because everything just came. The funk that I'm going through is, and I'm wondering if wait, I have a call coming. I'm wondering if the funk is, you know, every time that I had those funks, that it could be one of those integrations. And because it's very particular in a sense that I'm getting into that funk, I'm getting very annoyed about many things. I can't process information coming in. I even shut off the radio. I put off, you know, I cannot even listen to other people talking about things or stuff. I'm like, okay, no. And I also get into this, currently I don't have a let out, like working in the yard or stuff like that. But what I start doing is like, I'm playing one of these sorting games on my tablet. It's like a match-3 game, but it's sorting things, you know, in the right position, you're sorting them and then they disappear. And you know, this is kind of like what you were all saying, you know, you start cleaning out, you start sorting things, you start, you know, putting the chaos into order. And because I have very little that I have to do in my apartment, because I'm quite minimalistic in the place where I'm living currently, I'm like, okay, maybe I was just looking for a let out to do that, because I literally looked up for a game, you know, sorting game. It came up. It's like ridiculous, but okay. I had to go through it, you know. I'm on level 152 and I do not even tell you how long I played, you know. It's like, Martina, you had this thing where you just looked for 13 hours straight, you know, some soap or whatever, some series that you needed to go through. So I think I just needed to go through that funk as well, but I did not acknowledge the fact that there was probably an integration happening, or some sort. But now picking up on some of the and I had over the weekend a very weird dream where I was actually on a bus. There was I didn't know anybody on that bus. I just had to take that bus to get someplace. And I arrived at that place, and the person that I didn't know anybody, I was on my own. The person that opened the door, she showed me the rooms, although it was not because of the rooms that I was in that house. And then she presented me her grandmother, and her grandmother was in a room that was filled with a huge bonsai that nobody acknowledged, just telling me that it was 81 years old. And she was trying to make herself a fish sandwich. So, I know. And I tried helping her making the fish sandwich. Don't, you don't even want to know how the fish looked like. It was like, but this whole bonsai thing somehow was like, nobody acknowledged that actually the whole room was taken up by that tree. And it was just like, he's there, you know. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And you know, now that you were talking about the bus, you know, or I'm never been in a terminal. I can't really remember that I have dreamt. I mean, I'm in a terminal a lot of my life because I'm flying a lot, so I'm spending half of my life anyways in terminals. But yeah, it was funny that I was on that bus and had to go someplace, which yeah, very, very weird. But no, actually, and now I'm wondering about this funk thing that I'm in, and if it is an integration, I can simply not acknowledge or find a way to. But now that you have talked about that, I think the next time it will happen, I would be more like, okay, what's going on? You know, just you know, what or who is what's happening, something.
Yeah.
So that's a good takeaway from it. And I really appreciate it also because I needed to hear that. And also my card that I draw this time for the new moon was saying the same thing, in a sense that you cannot pull, you do not have to find a solution for everything that is coming up, you know. So you can also not just pull and push things if they do not want to be pulled and pushed.
Yeah.
The only thing that I did this week is that I got finally my building permit for the house. It was a long, arduous, nonsensical process, but I felt that I had to do that for a reason. I have not yet known the reason, but I had to push through it, and now I'm feeling like, okay, done. But that wanted somehow to be done, although all the signs, everybody, if I would have told you about it, everybody would have said, no, don't do it. But I felt like, no, I think I needed to push through it, even until the last nonsensical thing that happened. But
So again, here, this is a good, the question again, who or what has been pushing me to do it? Because, you know, don't forget the consciousness of the ground or the house that wants to be built has been leaning on you, kicking your butt. I've realized it is so interesting when you start looking at that. Everything has consciousness. Everything communicates. You know, the house that you're going to build there knows exactly that it wants to be built. I can remember there was a house I looked at a couple of years ago, which I thought selling this and buying this one. And I went there to see it, and I took some friends with me, and we looked at it and thought, okay, it was quite fun, you know, la la la. And then I said to the agent, I want to come again, and I did go again with different people. And then he called me back a third time. Well, the third time he didn't call me back. He called me back twice. He called me twice to do that. The third time I thought, okay, well, I've been there twice now, so now I need to make a decision. But then again, let me see it one more time. And this is not me. I don't have a decision. I don't need three things to decide. I usually know right away if I like it or not. Anyway, so I make an appointment with the agency again. And this it's never happened. And my daughter works in the agency business, and she says it's very unusual. The agent never phoned me back. In fact, we made an appointment. Let me rectify that. He didn't show up. I stood in front of the house, didn't show up. Tried to phone 3 times. Nobody picked up the phone. I've never heard of this agent again. And I thought, wow. What is this? And I wasn't obviously particularly attached to the house, but what I realized when I started asking questions, I thought, what was that? Why did I have to even do this? And it was the house that called me in, because I had to come to the house to do whatever I did, obviously exchange of some sort of energies or God knows what was there. And that was it. But that, again, that's a higher mind consciousness, you know, who thinks about this? Usually you just blame the agent being an arsehole for not having manners or taking responsibility for, you know, calling you back or make a scene or something. But for some reason, I realized, okay, that was it. That was it. So sometimes that push, Sandrine, is like you having a power struggle with the energy of the house that wants to be built there. And you're like, hey, back off in my time. And it's like, no, come on, you got to do this now. You got to do this now. It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, and
Martina.
talk about integration, because as you were talking about that house, I could see another timeline, past life, where you were living there. And so you went
Oh
there to
my
get
gosh.
that integrated. You know, did you see
That's
that too,
exactly,
Lana?
Tanya. That's exactly what I was picking up, a different timeline.
Yeah, that different
I was gonna
timeline, that
say,
different part of you that you had to go twice, you had to go 3 times and
Oh,
stand in
6.
front of the house. So all of that part of you could come out and integrate, and maybe you were, you
Well,
know,
I
not
mean,
aware of that was happening.
Amazing, yeah.
Which, yeah, amazing, because I'm wondering now, which is why I probably also have these glitches happening to me in the house, because the lot is just next door where I live, you know, it's the empty lot that is next to the house where I live currently here in Cabo Verde. It's an empty spot. So it's currently, okay, it's not true that it's an empty spot. There is an old Jeep that stands there where the dogs are sleeping under, and the monkey is now also sleeping with them under that car. So actually I'm going to destroy that, but building them a new,
I'm
bigger
sure you
thingy.
find a way of accommodating the monkey and the dogs.
Oh, well, you know, I'm going to leave for a week. I have to, you know, I even gave money today to our cleaning lady so that she buys bananas for. I mean, everything needs to be organized, right? Know what I'm saying? So I think maybe also these glitches that I'm experiencing could well be that, you know, there is something just telling me that yeah, the integration happening in a sense, like, you know, I forget to turn off the tap. I'm just standing in front of it, you know, and I'm like, okay, what happened now? Why did I forget to close the tap? And these other smaller things happening around me, I'm like, okay,
I think some
am I
of that,
getting old? Am I tired? No.
I have that too sometimes, Sandrine. And when I look at it, like Tanya and Lana were saying, where you have these, you know, our lifetimes are all happening at the same time, right? The more conscious we become of them, and the more, I think that's part of bilocating and trilocating and all that we were talking about years ago, is having our consciousness in these other lifetimes and integrating them into one, and they start to overlap, and sometimes what's in front of you doesn't make sense because it wasn't what you were looking at that moment, but then it comes back into this lifetime. Does that make sense? I've had that quite a bit the last couple of months, even, where I can start to see those lifetimes integrating into this one, so my consciousness is in all of them at the same time.
Yeah. It's like losing your keys in a different dimension on a different timeline. Some people are very good. My daughter, she's great at that. She loses her keys, they disappear. And I say, Emzy, where did you leave them? What dimension did you leave them? And she says, oh, not again, you know. And then literally an hour later, there they are, right there where they were. Happens to her all the time. So it's like, you know, Sandrine, you know, you're working the tap and everything, you know, fast as you are, all of a sudden you disappear on a different timeline. There is no tap, and then you're back again, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's happening, girls. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is listening to this.
It's interesting. It's interesting that we're recognizing the different timelines, and but the timelines are so so exact, so similar to each other, right? When you shift, but the only way I seem to recognize that no, this is not the timeline that I was just in, is that you get that feeling, you know, that feeling that's inside you that tells you, no, this is different, something is off, something is not right here. And so if you're unaware, then you don't pick it up, but if you are aware, and more in tune with what's happening in the now moments, then you're kind of like picking up that, oh wait, this is not the timeline that I was just in, this is a different one. I intuitively know it, even though everything seems very same, you know. There might be just one thing that might be off, or two things that might indicate, oh, wait a minute, this is not how it was, or this is slightly different, you know, things like that. So that's an interesting thing too. If you're not aware of it, you're not going to pick it up.
Yeah. And you know, this is this whole conversation about timelines and stuff. I think this is we use this as a tool, you know, to raise our vibration and to allow ourselves to perceive beyond that lower level of personality, of the old personality. This is not to know, oh my God, which timeline am I on, you know, or this or that. We're not dissecting, because it is so natural to us. you know, that this is actually happening. But on the other hand, it's so important to acknowledge that that is happening and we are doing this, because it just allows us to recognize the greatness and the the multiple dimensions and realms that we're continuously, you know, in and out.
Yeah, it's
All
very
of these
fascinating.
timelines are layered together, happening concurrently, right? All of those past life parts of ourselves and multidimensional parts of ourselves. I mean, time is a construct of lower frequency energy, right? And so really when you look at that big thing, everything is happening in the now. But also, as we're integrating all of these parts and pieces, you know, from all of these different timelines, it gives us the ability to be in a sense of timelessness. You know, we were camping last week in Yosemite, and so you can see the picture behind me. That's Yosemite Falls right there, and there was very little water at this time of year. Very rarely in August, September are those falls flowing really strongly. But there was very spotty reception. And that was such a gift, because not having the ability to communicate on my phone technology just allowed me to drop into the peace and the timelessness that is, you know, that Yosemite Valley. And even though there's a lot of people camping there, you know, it was really just very, very peaceful, right? Being able to drop into that sense of beingness, right? In nature. And, you know, I live in a city. I don't go to nature as much as I should or could. But yeah, being in that space with the opportunity to not have a 5G signal, you know, always poking at me, and always a Wi-Fi signal. You know, there just wasn't that. So allowing, you know, that sense of like timelessness. Yeah, the sun rises and the sun sets on the meadow every day, but there's that sense of no timeness. And I think we all have the ability to experience that, and maybe more and more each one of us are. And that, I don't know, it makes all of the timelines moot in a way where, you know, yeah, okay, we've gone around this circle in this lower dimensional energy time and time again, right? And all of a sudden now we're stepping off that merry-go-round roller coaster and seeing it in a different way. So I think just really, really fascinating. But it took me, you know, 2 days to relax, really. And coming back to that self nurturing and self love, like no matter what we're going through, we can come back to that place of just loving and accepting ourselves for who we are in this now moment. Yeah, then things can flow and click together, I think, more easily. That was the crystal card that I drew for the group today, Red Jasper. Red Jasper, it's all about the nurturing, right? It's about that root chakra and connecting to Gaia, the heart of Gaia, and the peacefulness that we can experience, you know, when we step out of that, always trying to, you know, or trying to push the envelope of, you know, working through something. Yeah, sometimes it's really helpful to just be nurturing of self and sit back and chill the F out.
Yeah, literally step out of time.
And that's what it felt like.
And it's almost like, you know, we're talking about the concept of construct and matrix and illusion and all of that. And this is the opportunity that we're having now, just like what Tanya was explaining. And you can still do that. It's going to be more difficult, but you can still do that from a higher mind perspective, even if you are in a big city with lots and lots of people around you. And I think this is what, in the beginning, when I said, when I was at the car boot, I was sitting there, because I have this, I seem to have, I don't know, a coding that the more is happening around me, the more contrast, the better it is for me, because that switches my technology on. You know, the more chaos, the more the calmer I become, because I immediately start balancing everything out. So I get, when I haven't got enough going on, Lana, we'll be right back. That's when I become restless a little bit. I mean, it's better now. I've got much better, but that is, you know, something for me. So I was surrounded, like, you know, masses of people in that market, and I was just the observer, and I just really allowed myself, and they were so peaceful because I could just observe. I didn't have to interact, that kind of thing. And I think that's the choice, you know, we worked so fucking hard for, with all this self-mastery business and sovereignty business, because there would have been a time where I couldn't have done that, because everything in me would have empathically, you know, reached out to be of service, because at the time, probably that's what I thought I was meant to be doing, or I didn't think at all at the time, you know. I just misconstrued service and contribution on a bigger scale, because it's not about, you know, being the wrong kind of empathy, sympathy, but it's actually an intellectual understanding of the soul's journey. And I think this has made a huge difference for me, because I always need to understand things in order for me to reach the next level of awareness. And learning about the soul's journey has really helped me to step back and don't entangle, not interfere, and being honoring and witnessing other people's journeys, no matter, irrespective of how dreadful, how difficult, how dramatic it is. And just being that space holder that we always talk about. And what is a space holder? Space holder is that person that manages to maintain a high level of awareness, doesn't drop every time there is some drama going on, drop down into those lower realms. No, it stays high.
This is always what's fascinated me, when people around you, I mean, due to the fact that I'm traveling a lot, so I'm spending a lot of time in different places where I'm surrounded by a lot of people, in airports, for example. And I absolutely love just sitting in the lounges and observing. I'm rarely one of these people that sits there with their computer and replies to emails. No, I do that at the office, okay? If I really have to. But usually I just sit there and I observe other people. I don't even listen or read or anything. I'm just sitting there and enjoying myself. And it's absolutely fascinating how people do not, sometimes are so, you know, in their own bubble, in a sense, that they don't even notice what is happening around them. I mean, the obvious it's get when, as soon as they are looking at their phones, you know, it's like, you know, it's like there's, and they have no clue what is, you know, what is going on around them, because they are so, gravity just pulled them, you know, into this screen. And it's like, yeah, it's like, whoa, okay. And they don't even notice, you know, that somebody next to them is stumbling, or, you know, that there is actually water falling down on them, or, you know, like the other day, you know, somebody was just, you know, pushing something, and it was just, you know, spilling over them, and they didn't even, you know, and I was nearly just getting up from my seat because I was the observer. And but I said, no, because you're too far away anyways, it's going to spill on them, but yeah, but even if I'm focused on something, I still know what is going on around me, funnily enough, because I have this observer, this nearly 360. I'm becoming actually also better at letting go of some things that are behind me, in a sense,
Well, I mean, the more you let go of that, the more specialized you become as that, what you do, especially, we're talking about being in train stations and, in dreams or anything. That's one thing. But you have this in this reality dream that you continuously are in airports. Now, there's a reason for this. Yeah, you're not just the observer. You are doing your biggest work. Yeah, is actually you sitting at the airport being a transducer of energies, a celestial mediator. That's your real job. And this is the interesting thing is you don't have to go into solution mode.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing, because if we are working with solutions, and I say this to Paul all the time because he's a solution man, right? He's give him a problem, he will solve it. And I often say to him, I said, yeah, that is admirable and I love it and it's great and you are the best. And yet you will always have to attract problems so that you can create a solution.
And create solutions.
So it's become an addiction. It can become an addiction. And then it's going to be more difficult to, first of all, you got to acknowledge that and actually realize that, whatever I think I am solutionize here, I'm already doing this on a different level. And with how much ease am I doing this and how much fun and how much joy, right? How can I get paid like with that? Right? That's the thing. And of course, how would that be? Well, writing a book, speaking to people or being out there. There's so many other ways of doing it. But that's the difficult thing for people who have been in jobs. And I'm not speaking about, anyone in particular here, to let that go. I wouldn't even say it's an ego thing. It's just a misidentification. It's a misidentification because people don't look at, what else is possible? How can I do what I'm doing here in a differently, where I would be even better? Even better. It's
like the galactic helpline, right?
Yeah. And then
I'm sort of very fortunate that I have that in my job currently, because I'm the person that many people call and come to the door to actually, I'm listening to them, and then I'm coming up with a solution, because that's why they come to my door. Or I'm just, putting them in a different way to think about it and look at it in a different way. So I'm very fortunate in that I can do that. I do not necessarily have to solve it, physically. I'm just, putting the people on the right track. Yeah.
That's a great place to be. Yeah.
Well, and that's also the journey of the healer too, like when I first started doing Reiki, I thought I wanted to fix everyone. Sure, I can do that. I can help you, but I can't do that. You have to do that yourself. Like I can hold space for it, and I can, help the person create energy pathways that will facilitate that.
Yeah.
But, we all have to do our own work.
Yeah.
Come into that space of awareness. As we were talking about solutions and problems, I just thought of that line from that Vanilla Ice song. give me a problem, I'll solve it. Check out the beat while the DJ revolves it. So, you know, what beings are spinning those problems into our energy field, you know, that makes us think we have to solve it.
Mm.
And what's to solve?
Yeah.
I just
Going back
had
to
this
that.
happening. Yeah, I just had this happening today. When I said I had a very good meeting this morning, I had a very good meeting this morning. Somebody came up and asked for, he suggested a project that would be very interesting. We currently cannot really do that for obvious reasons, but in my head, I was already, you know, resolving his problem because I already sent 2 emails out. I'm like, okay, who can we move to get this, you know, done and stuff like that. So now I'm waiting for the feedback, you know, and I know that we can probably somehow make it because it was something that I just picked up and I'm like, that's a good one. I think we need to, you know, open that door. And it was just, you know, opening the door and like, okay, let's go, let's do that.
Yeah. Well, you're a creator. You're, you know.
But you see, this creator thing is like, I know I am a creator, but still have to come to grips with the creation that is non-physical. And non-physical, which probably is going to manifest materially in one sense or another, or maybe never. Which is also probably why I still cannot pick up, and I'm not saying never, because maybe it's coming back. The thing with the art, you know, and I still cannot, it's not, no, that's not the creation that's wants to come out again.
Yeah.
I was looking at it again in a different way, you know, like, okay, maybe this line, and it's still like, no way, no, okay. Like, okay. So I continue my knitting, which is still, you know, very pleasing to me. And the other creation is it's a complete different creation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I can only speak from experience here with this art business, because I mean, it's the last thing I thought that will ever come through, you know, from the painting in particular. I've always been with artists. I always loved going to exhibitions with my artist friends and, you know, collecting art myself. But never thought of, oh, I can do this myself. It just happened. And those are the things that I love the most when, you know, and how did I get out of the way? We have to get out of the way. And it's been a practice for me for a couple of years now to get out of my own way and to allow myself everything else that I've done. I've done so many things in my life, to allow them to leave, to not hold on to them. You know, like being a healer, being a yoga teacher, being a facilitator, being all of these things that I used to do. It's like saying, no, I'm not that anymore. That's it. You know, like we talked a little bit about this last time. So that making that space. But I want to say something else to what we were talking about. Problem solving, creating problems so that we can solve them. We do
No,
a lot
attracting problems.
tracking problems. We do a lot of that. I certainly have done that, and I have seen others do that too. Using our psychic awareness to create problems and to become almost, to a certain level, controlling. Is a very interesting dynamic. So, for instance, you know, I don't know, you make an appointment with your boyfriend that you meet at 1 o'clock. Now, you have a psychic awareness that he's not going to be there because the night before he had a couple of drinks and he would. So you're already phoning him, you know, 3 times just to make sure that he's going to be there, or, you know, or thinking 5,000 times what I'm going to do if he's not going to, that kind of thing. So you're creating a problem. Now, that problem doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from a place of awareness. And you know this is probably going to happen because you already have seen it. It's first of all, it's, you know, you've seen it before and you have an awareness that it can happen. Now, you're already preparing and having a go at him for that not to happen, instead of just saying, okay, 1 o'clock we meet, you're not there, you're not there. That's it. So a lot of that, I think a lot of relationship problems, especially certainly speaking for myself here, were because of my psychic awareness. I already knew what was going to happen, and then I tried to avoid it instead of just allowing it to happen. So you prolong something, you become the bitch because you're continuously la 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 la, don't do this, don't do that. And in
You
reality,
become the controlling bitch.
yeah, become the controlling bitch, right? But in reality, you were right. But it's not about right or wrong. You're actually cutting yourself off here because the other person will never commit properly because they feel controlled. So it's that real weird mechanism that we're creating in relationships. And then we think we're controlling, and then we think we are not confident, and then we think God knows all this other blah, blah. And in reality, all we need to ask, what is this? Oh, what is it that I know? That if I would acknowledge what I know, I wouldn't have to do any of that. I would just know to go there at 2 o'clock because I know he's not going to be there at 1. And that's an interesting one because, of course, in a relationship, you don't want that because, oh, I can't trust him. He says he's at 1 and now it's already 2 o'clock. Well, did you know he's not going to be there? Yeah, I did. Well, right? It's that. That's an interesting one to look at as well, because we are creating ourselves problems instead of just saying, okay, I know she's not going to clean this room. So if I want it clean, I better clean it myself. I'm having these discussions forever. No, certain things you can't change. You can't control people into submission. You can make choices. You can say, okay, well, you're not coming home again. This is just an example. It hasn't really, well, it would happen if she would come back, but you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So you just have to, and that's not like, oh, I'm giving up on myself and not standing up and boundaries. No, it's just what is required here in order to make this work. Who am I talking to? What situation am I putting myself into by being in alliance of that? Can I handle it? Of course we can handle it. Or
I think
not.
that
Jen.
really goes back to non-attachment, I think, because I have those things too. If I'm not attached at all to the person or the outcome, like I had a session scheduled last Sunday at the Healing Center, which, you know, we're still doing stuff to get it ready for like the grand opening. And so he was supposed to be there at 1. I knew he wasn't going to be there at 1, so I got there at 12:50 and I washed the windows. Like I did things on the task list, knowing he was going to text me at 1 and say, I forgot about it. I'm still at home. And I'd be like, well, just come on. I'll see you at 1:30. I had no attachment to it. I just rearranged my schedule and did something productive so that like I was still finished there at the time that I wanted to leave. So you can use that to make good use of your time, right? Like that psychic awareness to make good use of your time so you don't have any time lost if you're not attached to it. But then, you know, when you assume or when you anticipate that somebody's going to react a certain way, you can create that. And I've been working on that, like not making assumptions or not having expectations instead of like seeing how they're going to react to something, like my current company not liking me putting in my resignation. Instead of anticipating that reaction, I'm trying to soften around it so that like it's an easy transition and easy migration out without stepping on free will and all that kind of stuff. But I know exactly what you mean. If you brace yourself for it and you have that expectation and there's an attachment to that or an emotional reaction to it, then you create that. But if you have no care about it and you just use that knowledge as a way to make the most out of your time, then it can be a very positive thing.
Absolutely. I mean, that's high level thinking, high level perception, high level action. You know, I mean, if we could all do this, we would be all super happy.
Damn non-attachment.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where I didn't use the word non-attachment, but what saved me, oh, hold on, let me just put this in low battery. What saved me, I always considered myself spontaneous. That made me happy because I was super Madame Flexible and spontaneity from the very beginning. And in the beginning, I had to learn that, but that's how I framed it. So, you know, nothing can really happen to me because I'm super spontaneous and flexible. That was that. And the not caring is difficult because, you know, let's say you start your healing. And I'm not talking about you, obviously, Jen. I mean, you're a master of all of that. But, you know, the people that are passionate and la, la, la. And yeah, and they're looking forward to that client and have probably prepared and everything. And then they're not rocking up. And it's like expectation and assumption. Bit you in the ass, hasn't it? Can't do that. So you got to be careful. Passion is an ego value. When I first heard that, I heard that many, many years ago. I went to one of those NLP and this chick gets up and I was still in my, oh my God, you know, being a therapist, passion is an ego value. And I'm like, what? I didn't get it. I didn't get it for months, but it wouldn't leave me. How is passion an ego value? I mean, I'm so passionate about this and about, until I realized that, yeah, very true. Because it throws you into that net of assumption, expectations, caring. And then, of course, what comes in addition to all of this? Love. Especially in relationships. He doesn't love me because he's obviously not coming there at a certain time that we agreed upon.
Well, it depends if it is, you know, the day where you should get, you know, sign your off for your wedding or whatever, you know. Okay.
No, I know, but I mean, it's not got to do with love. Again, it's a total misinterpretation.
No, sure.
You
I'm
know?
joking. I had a very good teacher in that sense, which was having a boyfriend who's an artist and who's a clown. And I tell you, and who's from an island and who's from this island here, where, you know, time on islands,
Oh God, yeah.
you know, whatever. People say, I'm coming in an hour, 4 hours later, they're calling you and saying, I'm on the way. Yeah, you said that 4 hours ago, but okay. So you come tomorrow, right? Whatever, you know. So this, goodness me, I had to learn that the hard way because I gave myself this whole, you know, I'm misorganized, you know. You want to be at 10, I will be there at 9:55, you know. Now I'm becoming one of these people that is like fashionably late a little bit because I love just doing it. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to be the first one anymore, you know. I'm like, okay, whatever. The other day we had people over and I heard them coming in downstairs in our open space, communal space, and I was still upstairs doing my stuff, and I really didn't feel like going down immediately in 5 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, somebody, you know, the guys downstairs were like, "Are you coming?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just tossing the salad together. I'm coming."
Yeah.
That would have never happened to me, you know, 10 years ago. Never. I wouldn't have done that. I would have probably standing in front of the door waiting for them, you know. I'm like, what the fuck, you know?
What's wrong with
Come
you
on,
guys?
chill
Why are you
out.
not on time? Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I had to practice that.
Oh, me too.
I had to practice that big time. I had to literally wean myself off my punctuality and my correctness and my taking responsibility and all that bullshit. Yeah. But having said that, am I still in time? On time? Yeah. Because that's who I am,
Me too.
you know. So it doesn't take away. We're not cutting ourselves, mutilating ourselves, stapling ourselves, any of that, just because we want to fit in with others. No, 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 no. We're just stopping the projection game
Mm.
and just looking at what is. What is this? And then, of course, there's choice. Do I want to be on a train with this person? Maybe not. It's train time. Maybe not. But then again, you know, there's this other thing as well. You know, we can't have everything in one person or in one situation. It's not just about people. You know, so what contribution am I getting from this? Or what contribution can I be? And of course, the great thing having teachers like that in our lives who do whatever they want to do is that we can finally figure out what we actually want to do too. Because we never really started off like that, right? We just did everything for everyone because we can.
I said that I became much better at knowing what I do not want, you know, because I just settled into, because I can be, I mean, but I can be very accommodating. I don't care, you know, I'm spacious. You throw me anywhere, it's fine, you know. But then if it is on my time, and if it's on my time, and if it is in my line of organizing things, and I'm doing it, then I certainly know exactly what I do not want to happen, you know. And then I make sure that it won't happen. But if it's out of my realm of organizing it or doing it, then I'm like, okay, let's go with the flow. Let's see. Unless I'm being called to put in action, but that I don't know then at that moment. But otherwise, no.
Yeah, I do remember when I was younger, I pride myself. Is that a word? Is that pride myself to say, oh, I know what I don't want. That was always I might not know what I want, but I know what I don't want. But of course, you know, that's the away from that keeps you in that sort of arena always, like the solution business. And then when I said, okay, this is no longer good enough, what is it that I do want? Well, it took me a long time. It took me a long time. And now we're all at the stage where whatever you want, everything's uncertain. It doesn't really matter what you want or what you don't want. You just got to stay neutral and see what's going to happen to you. Going back to trusting your divine journey. Because it's no longer what your personality, your ego wants. It's more like, what does the soul want? So all of these stages, you know, it's like, oh, we're back to shit. We're back to knowing nothing, uncertainty. So
That's
why
right.
even go through this? Well, we had to, obviously, because we're on the individuation journey back to group soul consciousness. Was it easier before? I think it was, but was it as exciting? Probably not. Probably not. So what title are we going to give today's gathering? Because it's like we've thrown a lot of paint on the canvas here, all different paints.
Well, integrations.
Integration.
Integrating timelines without solutions.
And with no attachment.
Without attachments or solutions.
Let's be a bit Austrian, yeah? Fuck solutions.
Yeah.
I would say
Well-
shifting timelines.
Shifting timelines.
Keep it short and sweet and simple.
Simple. Oh God. Fantastic.
Getting back to your bonsai tree, Sandrine, I
Hmm.
think that the bonsai
Oh.
tree is you.
Well, I'm actually wondering if I'm not the old lady that is doing her fish sandwich. I maybe I will find. You know, I actually
Maybe both.
know exactly what tree it was, and it's a tree that I took a picture of in 2000. Come on, let me kill myself. 2004, 20 years ago. I will probably find it, and then you can see it in my background.
Yeah, Tanya.
I'm still much more convinced that I'm supposed to be the old lady, because there is still this very I'm very drawn to retirement, as I told. It's like it's coming up more and more, and especially if I'm in a funk.
What if we tell you you are the bonsai tree, you are the old lady, you are the fish sandwich, you are the fish sandwich is made of. You
I know,
are
I'm everything. Sure.
It's like in a dream. When you do a dream, you always look at, okay, what is that?
That's the tree.
What is that? What is that? What is that? You're everything.
Well, you know,
Ah,
Sandrine,
oh,
when
nice.
you were telling the story, then the number stood out to me. The number 81 stood out.
Yeah,
So maybe
that's
there's something has to do with the number.
that too.
So pay attention to the number.
To me, it felt like you, as the tree, are starting already to plant your roots and ground in your new lot, in that new space.
Mhm.
And also the bonsai tree, aren't those trees that you continuously clip to keep them small? Luxembourg, mentality, or European mentality, or anything like that. And now it's like, fuck you, I'm clipped to this, but I'm this.
Luxembourg has always been very big. Nobody ever clipped us away.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
We are the ones that are space mining currently.
It's because it's a tiny little shitty country.
It is.
I'm just going with size.
So
Sandrine, what I was getting was that compressed. The word compressed came to me, like compressed, because bonsai trees are small. They're like they can be of a number of years, like the number 81 came up, right? But they don't really get very large in size, so they're more of a compressed size but old.
what
you
this
know, in
this one
age.
isn't. This one is a huge one. Okay, this
Yeah.
I took that picture in Vietnam in 2004 when I was stationed there. So
But it's
this is
still
a
not
huge
that
one. It's in a
big.
big.
It's
This is
big,
like
but
2 meters, in width.
it's still not that big.
But Lana, you said also it's ancient. Bonsai trees are ancient, isn't it? It would actually be interesting to look at the metaphorical representation or the metaphysical representation of a bonsai tree.
Yeah.
You're
But
a
what
bit
I'm feeling,
And not the fish sandwich, no?
that too. What fish was it? What fish?
I have no idea. It still had a hat on. So
Well, you know what? When you do gardening, they usually use fish. Is it fish oil to fertilize the tree?
no, it's fish meal.
Fish, whatever, something to do. I just bought a bottle of fish oil or something to fertilize the plants, but I didn't even use it. So it probably has something to do with fertilization of the compressed self. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and then the fertilized version of the compressed cells goes into the ocean, becomes a fish, puts its blinders on, and just swims and has some fun with the mermaids and the dolphins and the whale.
You said mermaid. Remember mermaid.
I know I do.
I'm
Maybe
still not
it's
done with
your
that story.
maybe it's you're integrating um, um, your other parts and shards at the moment, and they're coming in together, and so they're being compressed together to become the you of now. And the number 81, maybe, because I was listening to a video recently, and they were talking about number of years. That it doesn't matter what age you are. When time the time come for you to get turned on, right? With your potentials, it could be when you're 90 years old. So something to do with that age is telling me that you're integrating, you're compressing, and it has maybe at the age of 81, something will happen for you. Something interesting and big will happen for you. So it's
Woohoo!
probably a ways away, but
But then
look
again,
forward.
yeah, 8 and 8 plus 1 is 9.
9.
It's
9 is
completion. Yeah.
8 is abundance, plus 1 is gifts and new beginnings. I like that right now. Then we'll
Me
see what
too.
happens at 81. You tell us, because we'll still be here, girls, talking.
We have to, but then we talk, differently.
Of course. We'll be probably sitting somewhere in our galactic office together, having taken the same train. So let's get on the same train, girls.
Yep, I think we are
Woo-hoo.
already. Woo.
We are already, exactly.
I'm just
Okay.
gonna upgrade it.
How are we
Cool.
doing? I think we're, oh, good. Any closing words for today?
No, thank you very much. I think again, the talking and the exchange and just bringing it out there is so important, and also picking just up these different bits and pieces where I'm feeling much better, honestly, and that just helped again and again, and it's so important to have these exchanges. So everybody out there who just feels like I, for instance, am a person who's not asking a lot of questions because it's just like that. So go out there and exchange. And if it's not, if you're not asking a question, just exchange with, a person that is on the same vibration as you, who can get you, even if you're talking nonsense to other people, who other people think that it's nonsense.
Yeah. And speak a lot of nonsense. I think that is very important. The more nonsense, the better. That's my closing words. Tanya, what are yours?
Well, instead of asking what is wrong, go back to asking what is this? Doesn't, even though it's uncomfortable, it doesn't make it a wrong thing.
Exactamundo. Lana.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have nothing really to add to.
Well, this is where we all
No
come
attachment.
once we think we know
That's
everything.
right.
No,
I'm
we
no
know
attachment.
nothing.
I'm detached from it all.
Well, thanks for showing up, visiting us on the train,
Thank you.
contributing your lovely energy. And Jen, are you
Of
still with
course.
us? Oh, she's maybe busy. Jen, are you still here? All right. Okay, girls. Well, great seeing you and chatting, and we see you next week. Next week,
Yeah.
Wednesday. All right. Take care.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.